Coming to paperback and e-readers, from the author of the critically acclaimed book The Man Crisis comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women are becoming lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Pre-order your copy of The Woman Crisis on Amazon.com today. I have been meaning to do a video about former Los Angeles City Council President Nury Martinez a week ago. However, I have been really busy editing The Woman Crisis, so I haven't really had time to go out here and film a comprehensive video about Nury Martinez and the racism she was participating in that was caught on tape. Now, recently, your Nury Martinez, the former City Council President, was caught on tape making a statement about a gay City Council member's adopted 2-year-old son, and in that tape she was heard calling him a monkey in Spanish. And in addition to calling this gay City Council member's 2-year-old son a monkey in Spanish, your Nury Martinez was also caught on tape with 3 other Hispanic City Council members looking to talk about gerrymandering the city of Los Angeles and looking to turn it into their own personal fiefdom. Now, when I take a critical examination of the statements of your Nury Martinez, they clearly show us how racist some of these Hispanics can be. Now, I myself have run into this kind of racism from Hispanics growing up here in the South Bronx throughout the 80s. And I know for a fact that many of your Hispanics can be just as racist as a white supremacist, and that was shown in the statement that Nury Martinez made as related to this gay City Council member's 2-year-old son. Now, I know for a fact that when it comes down to 2-year-olds, what they're looking to do is explore the world, and they're looking to learn more about the world. And your Nury Martinez, she didn't really want to see this black boy as basically doing what 2-year-olds do. No, she wanted to go out here and express her contempt for this boy because he was black. And that's why she went out here and called this boy a monkey, because she had nothing but hatred for this little black boy who, again, was doing something every other little boy does, because that's why they call it the terrible twos. But it's what 2-year-olds do, because 2-year-olds basically are out here trying to learn about the world, and that's why they're out here running around and touching things, because this is their first experience with learning about the world. But that didn't matter, because in Nury Martinez's world, black boys are nothing more than savages. Now, this is a viewpoint that many Hispanics have that the mainstream media won't talk about. And the mainstream media won't talk about it is because they want to make many Hispanics a buffer group. But this type of racism has been going on in many of these Latin American countries for centuries. A lot of these countries, like Brazil, Dominican Republic, and Cuba, a lot of these countries, there are Hispanics who participate in anti-black racism, and that anti-black racism is a part of that media, and many of these Hispanics, again, bring that anti-black racism with them when they immigrate to the United States, and they teach it as a culture in their own communities. And again, I have seen this firsthand living here in the South Bronx. I have seen this kind of racism, and I have experienced this kind of racism when I would go to the bodegas that were owned by your Puerto Ricans, your Dominicans, and your Cubans. I have experienced this type of racism where they follow you around in the store. They believe that you're going to steal, and some of them have these bag check policies in places like supermarkets and jeans and sneaker stores where they want you to check your bags because they believe that the black customers are going to steal. Meanwhile, if a white person walks into that exact same business, what happens is that white person is not held to those same policies, and nobody ever assumes that that white person is going to steal. So I've seen this type of racism firsthand that Hispanics participate in, and I've seen them again believe that they are justified in doing this to black people. And this is something that has gone on for years, and it has also impacted the politics here in New York. So a lot of people, they look at what your Nury Martinez and her three cronies were getting ready to do as related to the gerrymandering of Los Angeles and looking to turn it into their own personal political fiefdom as shocking. But I've seen this type of political behavior done right here in New York by Hispanics, and this was all basically them taking political power because many of these black bootlicks basically gave them that political power. Now, here in New York, we had a lot of these black politicians who were a bunch of cowards looking to go out here and form what we call a black-brown coalition. In fact, I believe the whole black-brown coalition was rooted here in New York because you have a lot of these black politicians who were too afraid to stand up for themselves, so they go out here and look to gain the support of Hispanics, hoping to create this black-brown coalition, hoping that if they have the numbers, they can stand up to white politicians. Now, this black-brown coalition basically is a covert contract between these cowardly bootlicks and Hispanic politicians, where they hope to use their numbers in order to get tangibles. But the whole thing is that the black bootlicks will go out here and hide behind the Hispanic politician, hope that the Hispanic politician goes out here and wins the election, and then hope to get some crumbs from their table. And in most cases, what happens is that the black constituents are the ones who get swerved, and that's what happened here in New York. During the 80s, we had these black bootlicks from the baby boomer generation go out here and form coalitions with Hispanics, and we saw Fernando Ferrer become the president of the Bronx borough. He became the Bronx borough president, and that Bronx borough president basically led to mostly Hispanics getting most of the city jobs here in New York and getting most of the offices here in New York. And as a result, mostly the Hispanics gained economic and political power here in New York. And sadly, most of those black politicians were basically irrelevant at that point. And again, that was all because we had a group of cowardly black bootlicks, and this group of cowardly black bootlicks just gave away their power because they didn't want to go out here and stand up for themselves. And this is why we see what's happening here in Los Angeles, because these guys, the black bootlicks, again, abdicated their power, did not go out here and make demands politically, and as a result, they went and stood behind the Hispanics, hoping to use them as a buffer and a shield. And now that the Hispanics have a lot of political power in Los Angeles, they're expressing their contempt for these black bootlicks. But sadly, you still have these boomer bootlicks still looking to go out here and hold and try to keep this so-called coalition. But there is no coalition, and that is shown in the actions of your Nury Martinez. Your Nury Martinez basically is expressing all of her contempt for foundational black Americans because she doesn't see a reason to respect foundational black Americans, because most areas of Los Angeles that were primarily controlled by foundational black Americans, like South Central, have been gentrified and turned into Hispanic neighborhoods. Same thing happened here in the South Bronx, and what happened was they did learn not to respect foundational black Americans because you have these bootlicks who went out here and gave the entire community away. And now that your Hispanics have economic and political control over formerly primarily black areas like South Central, what they do is they believe that they can go out here and behave the way they truly want to behave, and they believe that they feel like they're comfortable enough to go out here and openly participate in their racism because they control the economy, they have the population numbers, and they feel like they can just it's their community now. And again, this is sadly the fault of a generation of black bootlicks who still are holding on to the vestiges of this so-called black-brown coalition. But there is no black-brown coalition. It's just us, and we're just learning how these racists operate. And these racists are basically seeing most foundational black Americans and expressing their contempt towards them, and they're expressing their contempt towards foundational black Americans because we basically just rolled over for them. And again, this basically shows how we had a generation that bought into this whole integration narrative, and this integration narrative is working against us. Now, in the aftermath of this tape being recorded and it being played for the public, your Nury Martinez basically felt so secure in her position that she didn't even want to go out here and resign her job. No, what she did was try to dance around the whole situation, and she danced around the situation by going out here and saying, I'm resigning my presidency from the city council, basically trying to keep her job. And the pressure was continuing to go on. She just looked to try to get a pass, and after saying she was going to resign from the city council president position, she also then went on to say, oh, I'm taking a leave of absence. But it wasn't until your Joe Biden said that she needed to resign, and pressure was coming from all people in Los Angeles, that your Nury Martinez finally wound up resigning her position as a city council person. Now, there was a lot of, again, political stuff going on. She tried to finesse and put somebody in her president position, and she also was looking to, again, continuing to try to push her gerrymandering plan to, again, take more black political power, and looking to, again, carve up Los Angeles the same way politicians here tried to cut things up as related to the so-called Gang of Four here in New York. Now, the Gang of Four, which was a political coalition from Harlem, again, that was another thing that was going on, and this Gang of Four basically was looking to control the political power here in New York. And again, this was something that happened, and these people got caught eventually, and they wound up getting federal charges put on them. And this is the same thing that's happening in Los Angeles. We've got another Gang of Four looking to go out here and grab political power, and this Gang of Four is looking to again cut up Los Angeles the same way a Gang of Four was looking to go out here and cut up parts of New York in the 80s. So what we're seeing here is another Gang of Four looking to create their own political fiefdom, where they can look to, again, get a lot of economic resources through government programs and government contracts. That's what they were looking for with this Gang of Four. They were looking to go out here and get all of this money as related to city contracts and all sorts of things. They were looking to cut up the city. And this is something that is seen in banana republics and dictatorships. And again, it just shows how corrupt your Los Angeles politics has become. And what's really what's happening here is, sadly, most members of Los Angeles don't see how corrupt their politicians are. And this whole situation would have never been revealed had this tape not been played. Now, once this tape got played, it basically showed us again how corrupt your Los Angeles politics are, and it basically showed us how corrupt the left is in Los Angeles. And sadly, it's just showing us that it had to get so bad that the left basically ate some of their own. And that's what happened when your Joe Biden told the Nury Martinez to resign, and the other Hispanic city council members. He told them to resign because it was basically going to make the party look bad, and the party is looking bad all across the country because the country is imploding under the left's leadership. And this whole situation with Nury Martinez shows us that even though Joe Biden and the left want to talk about how diverse they are and how inclusive they are, it seems like the only way that they're including black people is when they want to participate in anti-black racism. And with that anti-black racism, they want to find a way to exclude anybody black, and they basically want to go out here and show that the only black people that they want around are these black bootlicks. But they have no problem expressing their contempt because they know that the black bootlick is a coward and the black bootlick won't stand up. And it shows that the black bootlick is a major problem for foundational black Americans because it's the bootlick who goes out here and colludes with these individuals towards preventing black people from getting tangibles in exchange for their vote. It is guys like the former Congressman Charlie Rangel who will go out here and, again, collude with these types of racists and deny us political power, because the same thing with your Charlie Rangel. He was one of those guys. He was one of these passport bros who was in DR, and because he was so caught up in getting his taste of that waste overseas, he was willing to give up his political power. He didn't look to groom a black person to be the next congressman here in New York. No, he allowed that seat to go to Adriano Espaillat, a Dominican, and now that seat in Congress is now controlled by Hispanics, who again are out. We see that we have no coalition with. And again, if we've got racists like this in leftist cities like Los Angeles, then it shows that they're not about so-called diversity and inclusion. They're not in this together with us, and we've got another enemy who is working against us. And if they're not about us, then we need to understand we need to separate from these people, and we need to start standing up on our own, because at the end of the day, we are the ones by ourselves, and we need to start standing away from those who don't support us. I mean, if they've got their political power, leave them to their political power. But we're going to start picking our own candidates, creating our own agenda, and getting our own tangibles, because it's clear we don't have a black-brown coalition. No, Brown is out here participating in anti-black racism, and it's clear that Brown has no problem participating in anti-black racism because they've created a covert contract with white supremacy to become another buffer group, and they believe that if they go out here and participate in anti-black racism, they'll get an honorary white pass. And that's what Nury Martinez and her 3 supporters in the city council thought they were going to do. They thought they were going to become honorary white people, and they wanted to participate in the same white supremacy that the racists do, and that's what we're seeing more and more with this growing Hispanic population, that they are looking to become just as anti-black as many of these other white supremacists out here. So when I look at this whole situation with your Nury Martinez, again, it really just shows you how nothing has changed in over 40 years as Hispanics have risen in political power. They have risen on political power on the backs, sadly, of black bootlicks who thought, oh, we'll form a coalition. But at the end of the day, they find that they have no allies. No, at the end of the day, all they got was stabbed in the back. But sadly, many of these bootlicks can't really feel the knife because they're so spellbound by all of these fitting into that black box that's acceptable to white people. They can't see that those who are in there with them are participating in anti-black racism and basically want to take their power away, because that's what happened with Charlie Rangel. he was so spellbound and looking to go out here and get his taste of the atomic waste in the DR that he wound up giving up his political power, and he didn't care about grooming another black person so that they could bring tangibles to the black community. No, he had the I got mine, screw you mentality, and because he screwed black people, we lost political power here in New York. And the same thing will happen in Los Angeles if black people don't really start getting on code and don't start getting out here and understanding that many of these Hispanic politicians are our enemies. They're not looking for us to get tangibles. No, they want to use us as political pawns to get their political power. And again, this is all sadly what happens when you are misled by people who are just all about trying to get accepted by other people instead of looking to get power to empower other black people. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Legacy. The sorority secrets of the goddess next door are revealed in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.